So maybe you're in your 50s or early 60s and you're thinking, hey, I have this big pot of money, or is it enough? Right? I'm approaching retirement. I think I want to retire, but how do I know how to bring all these pieces together? Right? You have a portfolio, but maybe you don't have a plan, or maybe you're not confident in your plan. Whether you've been doing it yourself or you've had a financial advisor at maybe one of the big firms and maybe not getting the level of planning help that you're looking for, you have a lot of big decisions ahead of you. And so hopefully in this video, I can at least give you the framework of at least how I help people and my planning process, my principles, a little bit about my background. And if we're a good fit, cool. If not, at least you have the framework for maybe going out and finding that financial advisor that fits your situation. The gap that I fill is I'm going to be retiring in the near future, and I have maybe 2 million, 10 million of retirement assets. And I'm thinking about like, when should I take Social Security? How should I minimize taxes? Should I worry about Medicare, IRMA surcharges? Is my estate plan up to date? My will, my trust, and all those documents, right? Like, how do you piece all of this together and then figure out how much can I spend? What am I going to owe in taxes? How long is it going to last? And am I going to be able to achieve all my financial goals? So if I have a specialty, it's really bringing that complex situation together. My name is Trent Grigorchik, and I am the founder of Corso Wealth right here in Naples, Florida. So myself, my wife, and our daughter moved here just about 2 years ago from Traverse City, Michigan. And so we were getting a little bit tired of the cold weather up there and have always talked about living somewhere warm. So here we are in one of, I think, the warmest spots that we could have probably picked in the United States. But it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. We love it here. I've been practicing as a financial advisor since, well, really, I had my first internship in 2011, but I first got licensed in 2013, so just about 13 years. And I help clients nationally. So I am slowly starting to serve more clients here in the Naples community, but the vast majority of my clients are actually not here in Naples. They're all over the country. I am a fee only fiduciary, so I think everybody who is giving financial advice should be, but believe it or not, like most of the people in this industry, like if you look at the financial industry as a whole and all the types of financial people that make it up, um, most of them are actually not fiduciaries, which is absolutely crazy. But they're the commission based people, set sales people. I charge fees to my clients, and I am obligated to act in their best interest. So that's a true fiduciary. I've actually never sold a annuity. Um, I can give counsel and guidance on these products, but again, I'm compensated through either a flat fee arrangement for financial planning help, or a some sort of percent of assets under management. So there's a big difference between what is a fiduciary advisor and what is a way of operating your practice that you're giving suitable financial advice. So really don't mix up those two. Corso Wealth was built for a specific type of client. Typically 2 to 10 million in investable assets or saved for retirement and transitioning into that phase. So I'll touch on that a little bit deeper in just a few minutes. Corso Wealth operates on the Savvy Advisor platform, which is a $6 billion as of today. They're growing pretty quickly and adding advisors pretty quickly. But 6 billion, they have well over 100, different types of advisors across their platform. So in my mind, I'm having my cake and eating it too, meaning like I operate my own practice. I'm the owner of my practice, but I have the support of a infrastructure that I couldn't get on my own, right? So between the technology, the experts in the investment world, alternatives, and financial planning strategists that I can tap into out of those 100 and I think 20 or 30 advisors across the platform. I can tap into their brain a little bit. I take pride in I'm the first point of contact. So I actually don't delegate to, like a secretary or a receptionist. Like I'm the person you reach out to. So no call center. And talking a little bit, going a little bit deeper into like who I help. Just again, like if we're a good fit, cool. If not, at least you have the framework. I specialize in that retirement transition phase. So somebody who has money saved, they're wondering, when can I retire? How much can I spend? How do I minimize taxes? What do I need to know about Medicare and IRMA and Social Security timing? And do I need a trust? Bringing all of that together and working through that project over a series of months. One thing that's unique about my services is that I always start with a plan, always. I never just say, hey, yeah, let's open up an account, move your assets from Fidelity to Schwab, and we'll just manage your portfolio. Most advisors do that. I actually lead with, hey, let's build a plan. Let's get on the same page. Let's see the opportunities. Here's the recommendations that were based off of my detailed observations. And then here's at least the financial plan that you can either take with you and implement on your own and manage your own portfolio. Or if you want to engage my firm and my practice on a ongoing basis, then I give options. And typically those clients have anywhere between 2 and 10 million of investable assets on average, or over the 300 to 400K income level. 3 to 10 years maybe pre-retirement or within 5 years of retirement. So you're either approaching retirement in the next 5 years, call it, or you've been in retirement for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? And maybe you have like heavy pre-tax assets. So assets that you still have to pay taxes on, and you're trying to figure out, how do I take from the different buckets that I have and pay the least amount of taxes, right? And maximize my income as much as possible over the course of my retirement and achieve all those goals that you might have. One thing that one type of relationship that I'm just not a good fit for is somebody who's going to call me and just ask me to pick stocks or place trades for them, right? That is like not the person that's a good fit for me. So market timers, stock pickers are expecting me to pick stocks, definitely not a good fit. The engagement of working with me typically is this flow. So you'll book a discovery call. We'll talk to see and qualify each other. Hey, are we a good fit to work with each other? We will, if yes, then I will map out like, hey, here's the retirement planning process. Here's how long it's going to take. Here's the fee for that service. And then here's kind of painting the picture of what an ongoing relationship looks like, if that's even on the table, after the financial planning engagement. So again, plan first, portfolio after, right? It doesn't mean we're going to ignore the portfolio. It just means that I'm not going to move any of your accounts just to build a plan for you, right? I'll scope the project. We'll work with each other, get to know each other, build trust. You'll see the value. And then if it does make sense for me to help with the portfolio on an ongoing basis, I'll say, hey, here's what that would look like. Here's the fees. Here's why I think it makes sense for you. Or several times I might say, hey, actually, it makes sense for you to leave it where it is because it's the best option for you. As a fiduciary, I think you're better off doing it yourself, or keeping it within that retirement plan because of fees or other types of reasons. So I'm going to just quickly touch on my 3 pillars that I really focus in on in the retirement planning process. Okay. So the first pillar is retirement income. How much can I spend in retirement? How do I replace that paycheck that I had leading up to retirement? That I can maintain my lifestyle, that income, that paycheck is sustainable. Like, what is that amount? It seems like super simple on paper. Like a lot of advisors will say, hey, it's 4% of whatever your balance is. Well, no, I would say no, it's not that simple. I mean, it's you can kind of have a good guesstimate using the 4 to 6% distribution withdrawal rate, but it's going to be different from year to year depending on the sources of your income, right? So if you have the timing of different income sources and the different buckets of assets, and maybe you have different financial goals along the way that are stacked on top of your spending. So it's not as simple as saying like, hey, just take 5% and call it a day, right? So accumulation and what gets you to retirement is very different from decumulation. Accumulation, making sure you're saving the right amount. You have an idea about what retirement might look like, way into the future. You're set up for growth and just putting things in the right bucket. That pretty much sums up the accumulation phase, right? The decumulation phase is when it gets a little bit more tactical and strategic, particularly when it comes to how do you construct your portfolio differently, and then how do you manage taxes are kind of the big ones in the distribution phase. So again, like, where am I taking money from? When am I taking from it? Not following the 4% rule to like a T. Like it is, I personally use a dynamic guardrail approach instead, right? So what that means is like we create a paycheck that is dynamic. So we have a target starting amount based off of all the inputs, based off of your portfolio, how you're invested, your different income streams, all of it. And then I propose based off of different scenarios, hey, here's where we're going to start. And then if your portfolio goes up to a certain level, we can consider giving yourself a pay raise. And here's the amount that it might change. And then on the flip side too, so if your portfolio goes down, how are we going to adjust your paycheck to make sure that we're, kind of being in protective mode if there's a 25, 30, 40% market dip, we have a plan for that. The second pillar is like the distribution planning, right? How do you take from your accounts? When do you take it? How do you invest the different buckets that you have based off of when you're going to take from each bucket? Um, I definitely don't overcomplicate things when it comes to the construction of a portfolio. And, I'm not trying to pick hot stocks. I'm trying to cover bases using cost efficient funds and putting together a diversified portfolio that is efficient, meaning where we're trying to get really good risk adjusted returns. We're not trying to just beat the S&P. We're trying to create a portfolio that complements your retirement paycheck using the guardrails approach. So I have another video where I cover like the sequence of returns risk and why a growth focused portfolio is not typically the best portfolio for most of the people that I work with when you're distributing from your accounts. I'll link it somewhere around this video. So definitely, make sure to check that out. So the distribution phase, how much money you take, how it's invested, which bucket you take it from first, is really important. It's not rocket science, but what I've found is that especially the self-directed DIY investors that come to me to get some help, they are in a position where they know what they need to do, but for some reason the complexity of the situation, and for some reason they're just like scattered and overwhelmed with all the different pieces, and they need somebody to help simplify it for them, right? So I collaborate and partner with not only delegators but DIYers, right, who take pride in managing their own portfolio, and maybe they are fee conscious or want to reduce the amount of fees that they're paying an advisor. That's cool, that's awesome. But when it comes to getting it done right, is not always just the cheapest, right? You want to make sure that you're maximizing that outcome as opposed to just focusing on, how do I achieve this in the cheapest way, right? There's a balance of quality and cost efficiency. When it comes to the distribution order, like it can be, multiple six figures, seven figures of lost opportunity by taking it from the wrong bucket at the wrong time, not focusing on taxes, not being aware of, your RMDs. What is that going to look like when you approach 73 or 75? And do you have to worry about IRMA, and too much of your Social Security being taxed? The widow's penalty. Like, there's a lot of a lot of things to consider. All right. The third pillar is tax planning, right? And by the way, like, all of these pillars are integrated and related, but I've just separated them into um, um, different phases of the project, right? So they're all integrated, they're all speaking to each other, and they're working together. But this is just how I can kind of lay it out so it makes sense to me and makes sense to the client. Roth conversions are a big opportunity for most of my clients, right? You've been deferring taxes. You've been accumulating money in your pre-tax IRA, your 401k that hasn't been taxed, and all of a sudden you have $5 million in pre-tax assets. Like, how do you take from that in the most efficient way? So I think a lot of opportunity is in a Roth conversion strategy, but there's a lot of other things to consider. There's the break-even point. Do you have a legacy goal? Does it even provide a larger paycheck for you? Does it benefit you as the saver and the owner of these assets to do Roth conversions? Or is this a legacy play purely? Most of the clients that I work with, it's kind of like a hybrid approach. It's pretty rare that it's like one extreme or the other, just like converting as much as possible just to maximize value at the end of life for a legacy. I've seen it, I've planned around it, but it's definitely not common. And then the other end of the spectrum is not as common either, right? It typically is kind of a balance of paying a little bit of taxes now, doing a little bit of conversions, but also being cognizant of the break-even point. When does that break-even point happen? If you're planning until 90 years old or 95 years old and you break even 2 years before the end of life and you and your spouse are the same age, like, was it worth giving up $50,000 of extra spending power when you're 65, 66, 60, all the way to 75, 80? Is it really worth it to potentially gain a little bit more money on the back end when maybe you don't even have a beneficiary or heirs that you're passing assets off to? So coordinating all these pieces, maximizing your retirement paycheck, minimizing taxes, and doing it in the most efficient way, right? So just to recap, I've been in the business for over 13 years. I have a practice. It's named Corso Wealth, located in Naples, Florida, and serving clients across the country. I work with them on a flat fee basis, fee for service basis, but also full wealth management basis as well. The three core pillars that I really focus on: retirement income planning, distribution planning, and tax planning. So if you want to have a conversation and just talk to each other and say, hey, this is who I am, this is kind of what I've been doing, this is what I'm looking for moving forward, I would love to chat with you and see if I'm a fit. If not, I know a lot of advisors in the industry who I could connect you with. So go to the link in the description, or you can just go to my website, corsowealth.com, and you'll find my calendar link within the website. If you haven't yet, subscribe, like this video. If you want to see more income tax and real decision planning, not just all the hype that I feel like is really out there. All right. Again, I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this short intro video to my practice and my services and myself. And I do look forward to the potential of speaking with you in the near future. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.